I know I missed Halloween by a month, but I got a tradition to keep. No matter who you are and what you say, you secretly like being scared. And ever since the dawn of cinema, people have been getting scared at the movies. Whether it be The Exorcist or Willy Wonka's Nightmare Tunnel, everyone has a scary memory originating from a movie. Wes Craven said horror movies are like rehearsals for our deaths. And these are 15 of my favorite rehearsals. If you've been following my channel, you'll probably be able to predict a few of them. But these are the ones that thrilled me, shocked me, made me cringe and cower, and above all, keep me entertained. These are my top 15 favorite horror films. Now, a bit of a warning. There are tons of horror movies regarded as classics that I haven't seen yet. These are just the 15 favorites of my viewing experience. So let's get started. Number 15, Candyman. The story of the unlucky reporter who summons the dastardly Candyman entity. This is a true horror movie, in which it's a movie of horrors. Above all, even more terrifying than the supernatural is the terror of being completely alone against insurmountable odds. Haunting, chilling atmosphere backed by a terrifying soundtrack and villain gives you one of the more memorable horror films of the 90s. Great scares and very intense. Only problem? It can be too damn depressing and dark for my taste. Number 14, Friday the 13th, Parts 2 and 4. Yeah, I'm putting two movies in one slot. Sue me. But honestly, these movies are so similar it's not worth putting them in separate places. Typical corny, campy Friday the 13th fun. Great kills, pointless nudity, surprisingly good music, all leading to entertaining slasher goodness. Worth a watch, just don't go expecting Shakespeare. Number 13, The Woman in Black. A truly terrifying ghost story. Gothic scenery, a dark, eerie mood, and scare upon scare upon scare. Fantastic writing, direction, and acting all lead to an intense horror experience. Now, the consensus is split on whether this movie is scary or not, but even if you don't see anything more than a bunch of dark rooms and rattling doors, you're guaranteed a well thought out spook story. Nothing short of what you'd expect from the masters, Hammer. Number 12, Scream. Now, I did a video on Scream last year that may have come off as bad-mouthing it. Now, don't get me wrong, I love Scream. I just don't think it's scary. I think it's a very clever, funny, and entertaining romp of a slasher homage that fully acknowledges what the genre is, cliched and campy. And Scream basks in the glory of it all. The characters are memorable and lovable, the tone of the film is perfect, and the constant references to the classics are fantastic. A very cool film, so grab your friends, some popcorn, and don't say you'll be right back.
Because you won't be back.
1974's Black Christmas. If this movie was more famous, I have no doubt it would be acknowledged as the Kickstarter for the slasher genre. It's got the ditzy females and the brave heroine, the POV shots, everything. But Black Christmas does it right. The killer is memorable and downright scary. The mood is dark and creepy. The film itself is perfectly disturbing. Never before will you hear O Come All Ye Faithful and Silent Night be used like this. Nothing like a good horror movie to trample over the sanctity and security of Christmas. Number 10, Planet Terror of Grindhouse. An awesome throwback to the red-blooded exploitation flicks of the 70s. A fantastic score, intense, over-the-top action, funny, bloody, and violent, but sometimes goes a little too far for its own good. But it's got a chick with a machine gun for a leg. That balances it all out. Number 9, From Dusk Till Dawn. What's so brilliant about this movie is that it's like two different horror stories in one movie. The horrors of violence and crime, and the horrors of the supernatural. Both stories are awesome and lead to a gore-soaked thrill ride of an action horror film. A fantastic cast is married with a brilliant script and leads to some of the most quotable dialogue ever put to a film. Guaranteed to leave an impression like fang marks on your mind forever. Number 8, 1978's Dawn of the Dead. Not only one of the best horror sequels, but one of the best sequels, period. This film masters the feeling of apocalypse. The characters are likable, the action sequences are memorable, the dialogue is quotable, and the gore is thick, nasty, and red. A terrific score coupled with fantastic direction and writing, Dawn of the Dead is one zombie film not short on brains. Man, I can't believe I just made that joke. Number 7, 1981's The Evil Dead. Now, truth be told, I have no idea when this movie came out. IMDb and Wikipedia say 1981, the back of the DVD I own says 1982, and Bruce Campbell says 1983 on the DVD commentary. Well, whenever it came out, I'm glad it did, because this movie rocks. Great characters put into an intense situation, the mood is thick, and the cinematography is brilliant for a low-budget indie flick. The effects are gruesomely awesome, and the pacing will have you hooked for the whole movie, baby. And it only gets better after a fantastic cliffhanger. Number 6, Night of the Living Dead, 1968 version. The gateway drug that got me into the horror genre. Everything about this movie is near perfection. The music, the story, the characters, everything. It's memorable, intense, and eerie, also portraying thought-provoking social commentary about power and society. Whatever you do, don't dismiss this as a campy black and white horror film, because it ain't. Night of the Living Dead is not only a great movie, but significant to the genre as a whole. Check this one out. Number 5, Evil Dead 2. It was hard for me to decide whether I liked The Evil Dead or Evil Dead 2 better. And while The Evil Dead is without a doubt scarier and more intense, Evil Dead 2 is a roller coaster ride that's a hell of a lot more fun. Bruce Campbell in his iconic role is only the cherry on the sundae. The gags, the gore, the mood, everything about it is memorable, non-stop entertainment. And if you're still not convinced, I have two words for you. Chainsaw hand. Evil Dead 2. Nothing else to be said, but...
Groovy.
Number 4, The Shining. How is it that this movie is such a success when, theoretically, everything about it is wrong? As much as I adore Jack Nicholson, he's completely wrong for the part. The character Wendy is poorly written. The movie focuses more on Jack, whereas the novel focuses on Danny. The premise very loosely follows that of the book, and there are pages of things left unanswered or unexplained. So why do I love this movie? The fact that it's not like the book, I think. Stanley Kubrick, visionary genius that he is, probably intentionally left so many things unexplained and changed so many things regarding the supernatural. That way your mind does a lot of the work and you end up scaring yourself. The film focuses more on the horrors of insanity than the supernatural, which honestly, I find scarier. Add to the fact that the film is grotesquely beautiful, artistically shot, perfectly scored, and impossibly intense, you have a downright memorable horror masterpiece. And I can't help but love everything Nicholson does in this movie, even if it is wrong. I don't know. Maybe I should finish reading the book before I pass full judgment, but for now, I love The Shining, and this is where it will stay. Number 3, 1984's A Nightmare on Elm Street. An iconic movie due to its spectacular concept. You're never more vulnerable than when you're asleep. The characters are memorable and well written, the film is well shot and well paced, has a terrific score, and it gives us one of the most famous faces in horror movie history. I didn't find it scary necessarily, but that doesn't mean I don't find it painfully enjoyable. I love every second of its brilliant mad genius. Watch it, and whatever you do, don't fall asleep. Number 2, 1960's Psycho. It may not be apt to call it a horror film by today's standards, but you can't ignore everything it did for the genre. This is one of the first movies to portray a scantily clad woman being butchered, only it's done tastefully. The villain is memorable, the mood makes you uncomfortable, and it leaves you guessing until the very last twist. Well written, masterfully directed, and includes fantastic acting too. Plus, what else can be said about one of the most famous film scores ever? It'll make you think twice about that shower you're gonna take. A perfect movie by any means, horror or not. And my number 1 favorite horror movie is 1978's Halloween. Yeah, you could probably guess it, but seriously, I can't help it. If you're gonna see one slasher film, it has to be this one. The one that started the slasher craze, Halloween is a masterpiece. It's well written, well shot, and intense beyond belief. The characters are memorable and more than just eye candy to be hacked apart. The villain is downright menacing and makes you nervous every time he's on screen. And the music? Never before has something so simple been so effective. And that's Halloween in a nutshell. Simple. No excessive gore or nudity, just atmosphere, mood, and story delivering each scare like a stab into the chest. I watch it every October, and I suggest you do too.